Okay, everyone. I hope you're still there. We had a major glitch, like I was mentioning earlier. We have some issues on with the equipment, and every time we do this show, we seem to it's like it's doomed to have some glitches. And can't see Mitch yet. I'm going to try to get him in, but I want to get some preliminary stuff that we're going to want to cover today. And I think one of the things, I also changed my setup here. I did things that you're not supposed to do in the middle of a production time. Changed my positioning of cameras, all kinds of stuff. So enough of that. You've already seen or not seen anything so far. So I actually do not have a picture shot of Mitch, but I do have him online. Isn't that correct?
I am here.
Okay, so
hopefully everybody can hear me.
It may be just me and a PowerPoint today, and we'll go from there. So, yeah, Mitch, you can't even see what's going on, can you? We didn't even do the other glance shot as well. So that was just we'll get all this stuff going as we're going, and not to worry. But the technology issue, we actually had a crash and all that. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to. Before I get that, it's just going to be very complex. So I will run the show from here until we need this later.
Okay.
So here we go. Live TV. I actually now know what that means. That's pretty funny, actually. So let's go ahead for now. And you're going to have me up here with the Process Warrior banner. And as we get going, I get Mitch on screen talking about the PowerPoints. I'll have him cover while I work on some other stuff here. But anyway, going to our very first screen, we're still talking about maintenance and the strategies, and I think it's important to understand. The last time we talked about, we built a growth-focused stock screen. We sorted it by market capitalization to make it easy but also consistent. And then we selected, in building that capitalization, we selected a top, bottom, and middle screen. So we did bottom up from a capitalization range, and then we went from there to more of a the middle of the range, and then we did the top down. So that's a typical way we did that. And then we did some start-stop maintenance on the last show. So the fact that Mitch can't actually see this makes it even more intriguing, actually. As I go to
have a copy of the PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
Myself,
so what I'm going to do is I actually can't get you going on here and get a glance session going unless I take this thing offline to do this. So if you have that presentation, the tracking manual page, and go ahead and do that. And I'm going to bring that up by itself while I try to fix some of the show glitches.
Okay. So as we had talked about before, having this tracking manual in place is essential, and we went through some of the basic elements in the last episode, talking about what goes into this. And as we've mentioned before, we keep record of some of the key settings whenever you build a portfolio of how a portfolio is constructed. But at the point that you construct a portfolio, you need to really narrow down what it is that you're trying to do with this strategy, and keep record of all the settings that you use to construct the initial portfolio. What we're going to talk about a little bit more today is what type of records you should be maintaining as you go through the process. And what we're also going to do is we're going to pull up 2.0 and show you how to pull up some screenshots as well as some downloads within the system that you may not already or may not know is in place. And we're also going to talk about some of the other elements that go into a portfolio, like the pricing of it, as well as start talking about some of the distinctions that you need to keep aware of when you start working with something like mutual funds. So, one of the things we touched upon last episode was the starts and stops within a portfolio. When you construct a portfolio, when you come up with an idea, it takes more than just simply taking a screen, loading up an initial run of, let's say, 25, 24 stocks, throwing it in the system, and then looking backwards at time.
You're actually live now, so you're on screen.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, sort of.
So,
you're kind of a ghost-like figure, but sorry to interrupt your flow.
There we go. So when it comes time to construct an idea, instead of just simply taking the latest basket of 24 or 25 stocks and just looking backwards in time, that's not going to tell you how well that this process would have worked. So what we showed you, whenever you utilize the screen, you want to grab the results of that screen historically and look at it year by year by year, going back however long you can that you have access to that data. And then also, if you happen to be able to go through that, you'll be able to see what that would have looked like in 2007, 2008, 2009, and so on, if you can actually recreate that. And if you need help in doing that, we'll certainly assist you in doing that. We have some other tools that we'll touch upon in a future episode called the PDC tool that will allow you to go through that and be able to update a portfolio to reflect any changes that you've made to it. But when you construct a portfolio, Bob, if you go to the next slide that goes over the outlines, the components that you need to keep track of are things like the objective, the methodology, the inception date, beginning equity, the activity and liquidity settings, the transaction fees. One of the things we're also going to talk about is how to properly price a portfolio. We'll touch upon that in a minute. And then, as we talked about on the last episode, when you do add some securities, making sure that you do not adjust that allocation factor. And we spent a little bit of time at the very tail end of that episode talking about what you can do to safeguard yourself so that you don't adjust the allocation factor. One of the things I'd like to do, if possible, Bob, can you pull up 2.0, and I'd like to actually go through that system, and we could take a look at some of the data that you should be keeping track of when it comes time to actually recording all this stuff. So now that we've talked about what are the elements, we're going to show you where to find some of these elements within the system.
Yeah, just give me a second here. And I'm trying to get us so no one needs to see what's going on here.
Sure.
And of course, they can't see you talk. They see some guy in a New York Stock Exchange. We don't know. Go ahead, and while you're talking, and I'll get logged in there.
So, as we had talked about before, within 2.0, there's various different pages. There's download CSV files that you can keep track of. And what I recommend that you do is anytime that you make a change to your strategy, whether it's the holdings, whether it's you're running a screen, if it's orders, you should be keeping a record of that. You should put it into a dedicated folder within your server or within your computer, print it off, put it in three-ring binder. Whatever is the easiest way for you to be able to keep track of that. You just need some sort of snapshot in time to be able to have to refer back to in the event that something changes. If you question why it is that you brought a position into your portfolio, you can go back and refer back to what the screen showed that caused that company to come up on the list. Or if you executed a trade and you had a question because you adjusted some settings within your portfolio, we need to help you reconstruct it to make sure that everything is 100%. What we'd like you to do is keep track of things like the annual returns according to the system, and then you could use that to then match up to your custodian's results so that we could see that in fact it does line up correctly with what's actually taking place in real time.
So you're live on screen. I have 2.0 up, so.
Perfect. Go ahead and click on Virtual Portfolio Manager, and we'll go up to the dashboard. And we could take a look at a portfolio. And what I'd like to do is either go into the Portfolio Wizard or just click that Settings box.
This is going to be tough with all this stuff I'm doing directing. I am going to take just a second out and try to get something running here. So this is not going to work. I'm going to, because I'm not going to be able to follow your instructions. Not that I can't follow them. It's just going to be
pretty easier that way.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty difficult just to make it flow. And you're waiting for me, and plus you can't see what's on the screen while you're doing it. So let's go to let's just give us a break for just about less than 2 minutes, folks. Maybe 1 minute. It won't take me long. So I've got us just Process Warriors. We're on break right now, so we'll continue to. It'll take me just a minute to do this. So Okay, we're back. Like I said, less than a minute. Wow, this actually is right up there with the very first show we did. I think it's you would think we'd never done this before. But we spent all of our time before we started this show trying to get the technology to work, and then forgetting other components because it was just crazy as the time clock was clicking. Anyway, go ahead, Mitch, where you were.
All right, so right now we have 2.0 pulled up, and this is the initial dashboard. You can see all the portfolios that we've either built or subscribed to loaded up in the system. And what we can do, you'll notice that to the left of the portfolio's name, there's a green box that says ST on it for settings. So if we grab the demo portfolio that we just threw together on the fly, let's see here. It's not letting me click on it right now.
No, because I have to try it now.
All right. There we go here. And let me click it one more time, get it back up to the front. I'll just make this bigger for people to see. So whenever you construct a portfolio, you see these settings within the portfolio wizard as well. So what I would recommend that you do, if you haven't done already on all your portfolios, is get a record of this. Go ahead and just print it off. You can do Control P, and that'll take you right to the print preview on it, so that you can print it off. If you want to write it down, that works. Do a screenshot. Any sort of way that you can keep track of these settings on your end will prevent any sort of issue where we have to come back, potentially a week later to say, we've noticed there's been an adjustment in the settings, and then try to fix it retroactively.
This is a great build. Let's see, no management fees of any
No management fee. Yeah, this is just the one that we threw together yesterday. So obviously, there's no cost for execution on here or the management fee getting represented. But
when do you go in and edit that? Put that in when we're working on this. We'll put that in there because I would think I just don't want everyone to know exactly how this thing does work.
All right. So when I click on modify, and as Bob mentioned, we had constructed the portfolio. We didn't put in some of those basic settings.
I'm not sure we didn't. But,
okay.
I don't want to take credit for this. Okay.
Well, part of this goes into what we're going to be talking about in a little bit as far as pricing the portfolio to revisit it. So instead of just simply throwing a value down.
Yeah, let's put something in there.
But what we'll do is we'll just click right on the annual management fee, and we can go to that.
I'm sure it's coming.
All right.
There it is.
There we go.
We got a lot of stuff going on here, broadcasting and pulling down, and the internet's busy here.
There we go. So in this case, I'll just go ahead and put in 1.5 and click next. And as we had talked about before with the allocation factor, I had updated this value, and now when I click on this allocation factor, it's going to try recalculating it. So if I hadn't already recorded this, it's going to try going to update it for me. Now, before I push any buttons, or before Bob does, what I want to do is update this to the number at which it had been. So because I haven't saved this by pushing next or previous, it still shows the initial allocation factor down right here. And you can actually just go ahead and highlight this. Make sure I got all of it. There we go. And we can just paste back over this and then push next. And
why don't you just skip the step? Go to the next line.
Well, I could do that as well, but in the event that I pushed next.
That seems like about 5 steps when there was one. Just skip that step, folks, and go to the next line. You don't have to click on next. You can click on the actual hyperlink in the product, which will skip that step. So.
And then push allocate finish portfolio.
So you're live on screen, so you can't make any
that.
Funny faces or anything. So as I troll you, but yeah.
My allergies in line, which is not being easy right now. So that's loading up right now. And now that we've put in that management fee, we just sort of put it in on the fly. What it's going to do, it's going to rerun the history of this portfolio for better or for worse, and now it's going to put in the proper consideration to reflect the management fee over time. So now that we've made a change to this, you see that the status is in this allocation queue, which tells us that it's been set up to the server. The server's going to come and grab it. Is it about every 20 seconds that the server goes through the list of portfolios that need to get updated?
1 minute, every minute. So if you catch it at the beginning, like right before you queue it up, it's going to go pretty fast. So it's usually within a minute you're going to have that all up and ready to go again. Yeah, so by the way, just a side note, if you ever come in at, I don't know, midnight East Coast time and you go, oh my gosh, all my positions are gone and it's all zeroed out, that's because VPM's updating then. It usually finishes around 12:30 a.m. Eastern time every night.
Yeah, and we've gotten that question a couple times,
yeah,
where the advisor logs in, is in a panic, and that's a good point to bring up.
Yeah, it's just running. So every night that happens. Let's see, I know it runs, takes about an hour and 20 plus minutes, maybe an hour 30. So from, I think it's from 11 to 12:20, or maybe, yeah, I think that's the right time. 11 to 12:20 is the correct time.
All right, so I just clicked on the portfolio. It's loading up right now.
There it goes.
And we can see the full history on this, the annual returns, as well as the month-by-month returns on this. And so anytime that I make an update to the portfolio, we didn't get a chance to discuss this in the last episode, but what you want to do before you make any changes is you want to print a snapshot of this off, because we want to make sure that nothing has changed historically. So in the event that I added a new security, if I didn't put the starts and stops in properly, and I put in a brand new ticker, whatever it is, and left it on since the portfolio's inception, it's going to go back to the very beginning of this portfolio, and the portfolio is going to trade it. So that is going to affect the performance of the portfolio going backwards in time. So what we've seen a couple times is advisors will come in and they have a new screen of stocks, and they'll just completely wipe out all the old ones and toss in the new ones. And by doing that, they have no history of how the old basket did, and they're only looking at the new basket, and that is the absolute wrong way to do that as well. What you need to do is load up the securities like we did in the last episode, so watch that if you haven't already seen it. So put the securities into the system, and then go in and adjust the starts and stops to reflect the changes of the portfolio.
It's going to be a lot easier to watch than this one with all the breaks we had.
Yes.
I'm here, by the way, folks, just to heckle. So so I can keep Mitch somewhat honest here and keep him off track. So anyway.
We don't wonder who the straight man be in this relationship.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for you, just the slightest little error, and I'll clean it up. So anyway, he always treats me kind of that way sometimes. So he's always jumping on me. Make sure when you slide that screen down so that folks can see the bigger view.
What I just clicked on, you'll see here, is this toggle printer friendly view. What that does is it removes that sidebar. So now if I go up and go to print this, I can get just the view of this that I need.
Don't try it. There's no printer on this computer.
You don't even have anything?
No. This is only for display, but I guess it'll go to a PDF or something.
We get the PDF here. So here you can see that because I removed that toggle print friendly, I don't have that extra sidebar on the side, and now I can print this off. So I would recommend every single time that you run an update to your stock screen, go ahead and print this off before you make any changes. Then you have a physical copy to refer back to, or convert it to a PDF and store it somewhere, better yet, on your computer, so you can look at that and make sure that nothing has changed in any of the month-by-month or annual returns. And I will go ahead and push cancel so that it doesn't give us further headaches.
Yeah, who knows what this computer will do.
Now that I've also added that management fee into this, if we click on the trade log over here on the left-hand side, we'll be able to see every single time that we pulled a management fee on this account. And in this case, as it loads up, we'll be able to see what the dollar amount is. So with every portfolio, whenever you construct a portfolio, we have to work off of some sort of basket to come up with the returns. And so what we did at the creation of this portfolio, I think we worked off of a $100,000 basket. And so what this management fee is showing you is, in terms of dollars, what that would represent in this hypothetical model, so you can see every single time that management fee has taken place.
And notice that there's, if you move it up, there must be nothing in that account at that stage, because there's like multiple quarters with no fees. I'm not sure what that is.
Well, and this is one that we whipped up on a fly. So what we'll probably should do.
Next time we whip on a fly, we need to make them real functional, like, not to demonstrate how to the wrong way to do things. So
What I'll do here is I'll go to subscriptions and we'll grab just one of the Premier portfolios. Or do you have some of those already loaded up? They're all loaded up. Perfect.
Yeah.
So
I think everything's loaded at the moment. So
be dangerous.
Yeah.
That's probably why it's taken so long
It is why it's taken so long.
to load as
I
well.
was working with Jason on something yesterday. So.
Well, here, let's, for the sake of speed here, I'm going to go ahead and unsubscribe to all of these.
Yeah, so in subscription, you can subscribe. In our case, we have an administrative access, which means we can see like 3,400 portfolios. So it's taking forever to display it because there it goes. Let's slide down quickly to there we go. Clear all. And then that's going to also get your, you want to go back up and put your premieres you want on.
Yeah, did it clear it? It doesn't look like it did on my end.
I think it probably did, but it just, it did. You just weren't giving it a chance to clear 3,400. Let me just go up and put the...
yeah, grab a few of our Premier portfolios.
Yeah, nothing wants to work right now. There it goes. Oh, nice. Okay. Where in the heck? I'm telling you, there's thousands of these things, and I'm just trying to get out of here. There's the premieres. Okay, Mitch, you grab the ones you want.
All right, perfect. We'll grab the all-weather ETF, since that's a commonly used one. We'll also grab the Global Equity Strategy 4, and I suppose we'll also just grab this bond strategy as well.
And now you go all the way to the bottom again.
Yeah, and if you push end and an arrow key, that will actually send you right to the bottom of the page.
Should have did home and end, or whatever.
Home and up will also work that way.
Yep, that would have saved me a lot of time.
Yeah. So here we have some real portfolios in here. Now in this case, we have the all-weather ETF strategy. If you click on the settings on this, you can see how it is that we've modeled this. So this portfolio goes back to 2007. And the reason why it goes back to 2007 is the ETFs that we're using for this portfolio only go back about that far. So what we did is we grabbed the beginning of the year that the last portfolio or the last fund or ETF came into existence, and we set that as the inception date on this and walked it forward from there.
Yeah, matter of fact, good point on building portfolios here. This is something that you want to remember is if you. Let's say, for instance, I've got this live on screen. Let's say you have wanting to build a back test, but you have 8 symbols like this case, and maybe 5 of them go back to 2003, but only the balance of them start in 08 or 09. If you set it up like that and you put those symbols in, VPM has no data in the system at all, so it can't trade it if it doesn't have anything to trade. So it's going to ignore it. So what will happen is in those early years, it will trade just the symbols you have based on the allocation factor that was developed when you were building the portfolio. And so there's going to be, in the early days, it probably isn't going to perform very well because it had lots more cash because there were 3 or 4 symbols that didn't exist. Then once it normalizes and data's all there, then from that point forward, it will be fine. So the point of what Mitch was just saying is just find that, what I call the earliest or the latest starting date, and that's your inception date for everything. That way everything is normalized. You've got data for everything. You can trade it and you can model it going forward. Otherwise you're going to go, well, it didn't do very good in 2004 and 5. Well, it didn't have any symbols to trade.
Right.
We've seen that where maybe, especially ETFs.
I was just going to say ETFs. It's pretty common for advisors. They'll say, well, how did this strategy do going back to 2000? And of course, these ETFs didn't exist back in 2000.
Right. So what you can do though, and for instance, there's a sister portfolio for this one. The ETFs actually have performed a fair amount better, but there is a mutual fund, all-weather mutual fund strategy that does go back, I believe, to 2000. I think in that list there's actually one of the funds that have been locked down, but I think they have a clone fund that's available for that one now that you can still use it. You just can't use that exact symbol. It's the same fund. They opened another fund.
Right. So in this case, we we're working off an annual management fee of 1.5%. And as with all Premier portfolios, if you want to make use of these, you're more than welcome to use this. And if you want to charge a higher management fee or a lower management fee, you can do that as well. The ones that we've loaded up in the system are priced, I think all of them are priced at 1.5%. So you have a couple options to it. You can just simply subscribe that and charge the different fee if you happen to adjust from that. If you charge lower, obviously performance is going to be just slightly higher. If you charge a larger fee, the performance is going to be slightly less, of course.
Why? I'm joking.
Yeah.
I told you I was here to heckle. Of course it will be, yeah.
So let's one of the things that I wanted to talk about today was the actual pricing of it, because as we've gone through this and we've put some of these portfolios together, one of the things that we did leave off on the last episode was that management fee on that completely useless portfolio.
Do we want to go back to the PowerPoint at some stage here? Is that what we're doing, or
well,
we're off script, aren't we?
We are off script, but that's fine. What we'll do is
okay.
we'll go. Let's go ahead and go back to. We'll jump across some of these slides because we already touched upon them.
I'm going to get back on script. I feel.
You feel lost, huh?
I am.
Okay.
I'm
Well, let's
thinking if I feel lost, I don't even want to think who might be. So anyway.
All right. So here I have the slide that says
Why don't you
price
start
portfolio.
Let me just start it.
Yep. So as Bob heckled me earlier, yeah, that portfolio that we tossed together didn't have any sort of pricing to it, and so one of the things that you need to go through that when you begin to price out a portfolio is actually put some sort of logic to it. When I ask advisors currently what they charge, it's all over the board. And if I find an advisor that's charging 75 basis points or 1%, immediately the question is, well, why? Why do you charge that? Why don't you charge more, or why do you charge that much? Whatever the case may be. And quite often what they end up doing is they refer to this top point, competition. Well, this is what the competition is charging. They don't do any sort of analysis on the strategy either that they have been running or that they want to run. They just simply said, well, the guy down the street charges 1%, let's say, so that's what I'm going to charge.
Well, what I would say is this: is forget the other guy.
Yeah.
Start realizing what kind of value you're bringing into this by doing a more dynamic approach, and start looking at the pricing. And I know Mitch is going to touch on this, but one of the things that you have to do is look at the cost of running these strategies as well while you're pricing them. So a lot of folks will want to pass through the tickets to their clients. And because of VPM, if you're utilizing VPM as was built and intended to use, you can actually come amazingly close year by year what it's going to cost to run this strategy without little doubt. So what we've suggested you do is to price whatever the net that you want to make on this strategy, add in, and that's, I guess, are we going to use the calc cost?
We are.
Okay, so we're going to show you how to do this, but basically what you want to do is be able to make sure you priced in those tickets and do them for them, so the customers, probably the most irritating thing in the world to a customer, and it's funny when we flop it over, ends up on the advisor's desk, they end up feeling the same thing. The customer's like, gee, there sure are a lot of tickets, and if they're built into the cost structure, then they're part of what you're doing. And I know there's lots of folks that feel it to be the other way, but for me, if I walk in the store, I want to know how much it costs me to get the products that I want. And I hate when somebody goes, oh, you're charging you're doing a credit card, we have to add 12% onto your bill, or 4% because of the credit card, or whatever it is. And it just frustrates the consumer. And I think when you can provide something with that, this is one of the big considerations. And also is what kind of value you're bringing. And I think we've helped a lot of people over the years to reprice their business, to get paid better, and then ultimately provide a better service, especially when it comes to protecting against the downside risk. Because just about no matter what you do, whether you're using VPM, allocation strategy, or whatever, on the upside, unless you're doing individual stock portfolios and indexing, you're not going to beat the indexes. It's not likely to happen. You got alternatives. You got all different types of allocations. You got large, mid, small, value growth. That's not going to beat a pure cap weighted index like the S&P is. And it may in some years, but on a year to year basis, it's not a good comparison. So you're always going to have somewhat like market like performance on the upside. On the downside is where you're going to add a really huge alpha. Of course, we haven't seen that in 5 or 6 years now. There's been a couple little elements out there, but that is where the value is in protecting capital. And so a lot of you have probably just said, "Oh, we'll just buy a guaranteed annuity," and they're guaranteed until they fail. I guess I'm still waiting for that debacle to happen at some day when all the guarantees out there don't work. But
or if you violate them because you took out too much money in a given year. It's amazing how they're designed. In some cases, some of the insurance companies that I've worked with over the years, it's almost as if they designed the products to fail under fairly normal
it's sort of like a car warranty, right? It's designed not to be, when you need it, not to be there for you. So, but this is all important stuff to talk about. We'll go through the tool here in a minute. So.
When it comes to wrap fees versus non-wrap fees, or wrap accounts versus non-wrap accounts, this is the analogy that I often use with advisors. Is when I fly out to Arizona, of course I'm up in the Twin Cities of Minnesota, the frozen tundra that's slowly becoming the burning tundra.
At 70, yeah.
Well, right now it's not quite hot, but it's going to get muggy and hot soon.
Yeah.
But when I get on a flight, if I take a flight with, let's say Delta, which is based out of here, or at least Northwest used to be based out of here, they've now gone to this pricing where you pay for the ticket, and then you have to pay extra for any bags that you take. And depending on how many bags, the weight of the bags, and so on, there's additional costs associated with that. Now, if I fly on Southwest, I know that I get those 2 bags for free. So every time that I fly on Delta, I always feel that little bite. How much attention should I be giving to the number of bags, the exact weight of the bags, because I know that this is going to cost me. Whereas when I go on Southwest, I don't have those thoughts. It's a completely different thought process.
Yeah, and the point is that you want to look at what the costs are that you're related to what your transaction are and what kind of experience you're creating for your customers.
Right. So I view both flights as far as the actual flight process.
You're still on the flight thing. I can't get him. I'm trying to get him to switch off the flight thing. We got it.
All right. So moving on. So if you don't know what a wrap account is or a non-wrap account, a wrap account is where the advisor, you, are the one that pays the fee. So what you do is you charge a static rate for clients, and whatever the costs are, whether it's a account maintenance fee or a trade cost, that gets absorbed by the advisor. So the only amount of variance that takes place is whatever activity takes place, and it gets charged to the advisor. The client sees a flat rate. This is one of those scenarios, as Bob mentioned, where at that point, that's when the advisor is more likely to ask a question about the number of trades, because they're the ones that are paying for it at that point.
Yeah, I like the doctor representation better. What if your doctor, when you went in there, said, "Oh, well, I'll do this surgery, whatever." You usually don't get involved much of it because most of it's in the insurance, but they're the same thing. What if they charge and broke out the fees to you, how many nurses they're going to have and all that stuff? If you saw what really went on in that transaction, you actually don't care, and I don't think the customers care. They just want you to manage their money, and they want to end up with more money than they started with. That's the plan, right? It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and obviously in the non-rep environment, when you start seeing all those individual costs, you start to ask them. The client gets really focused on the wrong things. And so we've said this before, and we're going to say it again. Advisors that use any sort of dynamic trading strategies need to use non-wrap accounts, or that need to use wrap account, because if they use the non-wrap, where the client pays the ticket that charges, they're going to fail at that.
Well, the conversation is going to end up the customers asking about tickets when tickets aren't what you're doing for them, and
right.
it's just the wrong conversation to have with a client. So, and it says accounts are most likely to fail. It's just because customers get frustrated, and it's sort of like your wife. She's never mad at you for what she says she is. It's about the 4 other things that you did, right? So it's the same thing with clients. They're emotional. They're never mad at you for what what you actually did just now, but they've all of a sudden ticket fees come up. I had a guy named Joe Bellows, who was an attorney in Chicago, told me once, he goes, you can take 1,000 orders for a customer, but they always rattle before they bite. They're like rattlesnakes. And so when customers start to complain about fees and all the other stuff, there's something else going on in that relationship. And it's the thing that we've seen over the years, and I know I could, and that is a plan after we get through some of this technical stuff on this show, is to really have some advisors come on and talk about experience in transitioning the business from what they were doing to VPM, and then talking about specifically about running the business and kind of go through those steps so you can hear it from not just us, but people that have actually done this out in the field. I have several plans for having different types of shows that go up, but we can beat this horse a lot. We need to move on.
Yeah, so what we'll do is, at this point, we're going to show you how to properly price this. So go ahead and jump off this, and can you pull up VPM 2.0 again? Or
I can't. Can you do it?
Let me see here.
There you go. Look at that.
There we go. I'll close down that window for measure. And we'll jump over to Connect Site. So as we've said before, we do have some ways to actually logically price a portfolio. So if you go to the download section.
Yeah, and by the way, folks, there are other menus than VPM 2.0 on this site.
Yes.
We have so much stuff out here that a lot of you never see. It makes us crazy. We're like, why didn't they see that? Oh, I didn't know that was there. Just click around because there's a lot of information. Go ahead, Mitch. So we got the utility tools here.
Yep. So what I'm going to do is click on utilities, and the very top one is this cost calculator. So I'm going to go ahead and click download on it, and we'll open this up.
Nice and pretty in Excel for you.
Yeah. So what we do, or what we've done with this tool, is we've put in a few different basic questions that we ask you, so that you can see what this looks like when it comes to the pricing of the portfolio. So one of the things that